Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and welcome to my Friday Reads. So before I get into the books and graphic novels that I've read this week, I want to do my Booktuber shout out, and this week I'd like to shout out Amanda in PA, and I've been watching her channel for quite a while now and I really like her. She reads a lot of different types of books, some books that I've heard of, but often she reads books that I might not have heard of, which I really like. Generally she reads adult fiction, which I like as well because I like all types of fiction, and she's just really lovely and sweet and wonderful, and I think you should check her out. So I'll link her channel down below in the doobly-doo, and I hope you go and check her out, and if you like her channel, subscribe and show her some lovely booktubey love. So anyway, that is Amanda and her channel Amanda in PA. Let's check out the books that I've read this week. So the first book that I finished this week was Winds of Calacovo by Bradley Beaulieu. Or Bewley. Oh, I'm rubbish at this. I apologise. He is the author of 12 Kings, which is a book I read a few months ago and really enjoyed. He writes fantasy books, and this is a part of a trilogy, I believe, the first book in a trilogy, which came before 12 Kings. So this, I think, was probably his debut book, and it kind of showed for me. It was just a little bit jumbled. There was just too many things going on. The premise of the story is that you have these lands which are ruled by sort of kings and princes. Then you have the indigenous people, the people that have always lived there, who have many of them have sort of magical abilities to do with the wind and things like that, and fire. And then you have the extremists from these indigenous people who are called the Maharat, and they are causing loads of problems. It's sort of political, and there's a romance that's a very slow burning romance, which I did enjoy, but they just felt like there was just too many elements, too many threads, and there was too many threads that were sort of coming up really late in the story. Like, we had a really good sort of story arc going, and then all of a sudden something new and magical turned up, and I just felt there was too much going on in this for me to enjoy it as much as 12 Kings. And I know I was chatting to Caitlin, because I buddy read this with Caitlin from Kitty G and Jackie Kate, who is a subscriber and somebody that I love buddy reading with, and we all said sort of similar things. And I know Caitlin said that Bradley himself had said that when he was writing 12 Kings, he really looked to sort of hone everything down and to simplify things a little bit in terms of plot and getting the plot sort of in place. And I think that was the right decision, because it showed in this, and I really enjoyed 12 Kings. So it was okay. I'm not sure I'm going to continue with the series, so I gave this one 3 stars. The next thing I picked up was a couple of graphic novels, and the first of these was Bitch Planet Volume 1, which was by DeConnick and Delandro. I was really excited about this. Caitlin gave me her copy because it wasn't for her, and I was really excited by the premise. It's set in a world women are judged and imprisoned if they don't conform to the normal standards of femininity, if they're overweight, if they fight against things, if they speak out, if they're too political. They are imprisoned on this planet called, well, nicknamed Bitch Planet. I enjoyed this and it was okay, but I just felt that in order to sort of get across the feminist message that was trying to be pushed in this, they lacked some of the story elements that I would have liked. I would have liked to have known more about the workings of the prison, how it worked, and you know, how it all came about, and a bit more backstory. And yeah, I would have liked to have known the inner workings of the prison a little bit more, but I feel like it's sort of, I felt like this could have been a volume 2 parts of this, whereas they could have spent sort of volume 1, the first sort of 4 to 6 issues, really pushing the backstory and giving us an idea of how this all came about. Yeah, so as I say, I feel like they really sort of rushed into the action a little bit more than I would have liked with this, and so it was okay, but I'm not sure I'm going to carry on with the series, and I gave it 3 stars. The next book I picked up is probably my favourite book of this week, and that was The Sunlight Pilgrims by Jenny Fagan. Full disclosure, I received this from the publisher for an honest review, and I'm really glad I did. When the publisher asked me if I wanted to get a copy of this book, I read the synopsis and I thought, this could go either way for me. It could be really engaging and really fun, or it could just be one that falls flat. And thankfully for me, it was a really, really good story. It's unusual for me to like a story like this because generally I like heavy plots, you know, fast-paced plots. And books that centre around sort of character development and just sort of character studies really don't do it for me. I find them a bit of a slog to get through, but this was not like that at all. It's set in our world, but in the future, and there is the winter is coming and the temperature is plummeting. There's an iceberg that's travelling to sort of from Norway and travelling across over to this part of Scotland where this book is set, and we're following three main characters. So we're following Dylan, who is a 40-something-year-old man. He's always lived with his grandmother and his mother in a Soho small art house cinema in London, and his mother and grandmother are both died, and his grandmother has asked for her ashes to be spread in the Orkney Islands, which is in Scotland, and his mother has left him a note saying that there is a caravan there that she owns outright because he'll lose the cinema. It's not theirs, it's going to be taken over, and so he heads off to this place in Scotland, to this caravan that his mother has told him about. And then on this sort of caravan estate we meet other characters, and the main characters are a mother and daughter. The daughter is a transgender, born male, but associates with being female, and she is only young, 11 years old, and probably my favourite character in this. She is incredibly brave and incredibly self-assured for her age, and I really loved her voice. And her mother has two lovers, the father of Stella, the young girl, and also a man that travels a lot, and it's just about them and their relationship, all three of them, and things going on in their lives, and obviously this sort of apocalyptic type winter that is coming upon them. And I just really loved this. It's beautifully written, the language is gorgeous, and the story is brilliant. I couldn't put it down. So I really loved this, and I gave it a solid 4 stars. Next up, I read volumes 1 and 2 of The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which is by North and Henderson, and I really enjoyed this. I've been hearing great things about this, so I've been waiting to get to it for quite a while. It's the story about Squirrel Girl. She's leaving the Avengers HQ to head off to college and to assume a secret identity. There was a lot to love about this. She's sassy and geeky and funny and quirky. She has a normal body image. She isn't skinny and popping out of her corset. She has a normal body type, which I really enjoy, and she's a normal girl off to college, obviously other than her superpowers. I love the way that she works with the villains. The villains in this piece she seems to sort of reason with and form almost like pseudo friendships with in order to get them to stop what they're doing, and I really think that's an interesting spin rather than just sort of bashing them and knocking them out. She's kind of gets them to see that there's a different way often, or the error of their ways, which I really love, and she's such a great character, and I really did enjoy these. I gave volume 1 4 stars, and unfortunately volume 2 I didn't find quite as good as volume 1. I'm not keen on this sort of older style comic elements, and it sort of did, especially in the first issue, it did some sort of throwbacks to old Squirrel Girl issues, and that fell a bit flat for me. So unfortunately volume 2 I only gave 3 stars, but I did enjoy this, and I'll probably be picking up the 3rd volume at some point in the future. I'm not sure if it's out yet anyway, but it's a nice series. It's not my favourite, but it was nice and funny and quirky and quite refreshing to see a different type of female superhero. The next book I picked up was a library book that I had, and that is Paperweight by Meg Haston. This is a story of a girl who is struggling with an eating disorder, and from the very beginning she is going into a treatment centre, and we take a look at her life in the treatment centre, and also we learn a little bit about her backstory and what sort of led to this point. This book affected me quite a bit. Mainly at the end, I did have a little cry. It's a really interesting look into therapy and treatment centres, in my opinion. It's not anything that I have any experience of, and I just found it really interesting. It felt real. I know I've heard that the author is, I think, a counsellor or a therapist, and so has experience of working in treatment centres, and it felt very raw and very real to me. You know, sometimes you read books and everything seems a bit sugary and everyone gets better really quickly, and I'm sure in some cases that is true, but this just felt very real life to me. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but it really did take a really good look at eating disorders and treatment centres, and relationships between the characters were strong. I really liked that there was a really important adult figure in this who was helping our main character through. We called her the shrink in this, and I really liked that. I really liked having those adult characters. I think often in YA we don't see the adult characters in there. The mums, the dads, the teachers, they're just never there, and that wasn't the case with this, and I really enjoyed it. And I think if you've got an interest in this, and you know it's not a trigger for you and you can read books like this, that it is definitely worth a read, and I gave this one 4 stars. And then the final book that I read this week was The Girl in the Red Coat by Kate Hamer. This was a book that I was buddy reading with a number of lovely ladies, Joss from Scribbles Reads, Lauren from Lauren and the Books, Brittany from Under the Radar Books, and Chelsea from The Reading Outlaw. We were buddy reading this together. This is an ARC copy, but I got it in a charity shop, I think, so the front cover doesn't look like this. The basic story is it's about a 8-year-old girl who is taken by a man who believes that she is the saviour. I won't say anything more about that, and it's set in dual perspective. We get the mother's point of view and we get the 8-year-old girl's point of view. This book was I always thought it was going to be difficult for me, because I find it very difficult to read books like this since having Matilda, and parts of it, especially at the beginning, were very difficult for me to read. However, I think generally it's made worse in books where you don't really know what's going on and you don't know the motivations of the main sort of evil character, and in this we kind of knew what was going on all the time. There wasn't anything sort of hidden. I think if you went into this thinking it was going to be sort of a thriller crime story, you may be disappointed, because I feel like it's more general fiction with sort of thriller and suspense elements. I think we talked about this in the group. It definitely didn't feel to me like a general crime thriller. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed both the mother and the daughter's voice in this, but it just it lacked the suspense that I wanted or was expecting, I suppose, when I went into it. I think for the first third of the book, it did have me hooked and on the edge of my seat, wanting to know what was going on. But as the story progressed and I realised that there wasn't going to be any major sort of reveals, it got less sort of exciting for me. It was an easy read, however. It's just under 400 pages and I read this in an evening. I read it over sort of 4 hours in one day, so it was good, it was okay enough, but it just wasn't great, and so I gave this one 3 stars. So that's the mountain of books that I read this week. I'm not going to go into next week's TBR because I'm doing TBR Takedown and I'm also doing the Genreathon. So if you've seen my TBR videos for that, you'll know what I'm planning on reading. Check out Amanda's channel. I think you'll really like it. That's Amanda in PA. And I look forward to chatting to you next week. Bye for now, Booktube.